November 4th, 2006, I did a one-time only piano concert, a piano vocal song cycle called Psychotic. I recorded it in Fraser Park, California, and I wrote a bunch of songs, or rewrote a bunch of songs that I had from my past for this event, and I finally released it as a live record in 2011. And I even put a disclaimer on the promos for it saying, yeah, there's stuff on it that sucks. I didn't really say it like that, but that's what I meant. There's stuff on it I would have done different. I tried to enhance it in the studio. I don't think I made it any better, but we get what we got. I'm really proud of the songs. I'm really proud of the performance. And I figure in a wide body of work, it's an interesting curio of a moment in Paisley Yankolovich history. The opening song was There's a Man Going Round, and that's an old Negro spiritual that I love so much, and I really did the whistling live. I can't believe I was able to whistle live and not screw it up, because if I try to do it now, well, that didn't work. I did it perfect. I was planning on redoing the whistle. I've done the whistling twice. Perfect in my life. Wow, there you go. I love that song because it's so haunting and beautiful, and the spiritual really is about Jesus going around taking names, and if you just sing the song, it really doesn't sound much like it's about Jesus. It sounds more like it's about death. And even Johnny Cash, when he did his version of it, made it even more about not just about death, but about, you know, the judgment. You know, the man of judgment's going to come and get you. And the second song was Crazy Mind, Lonely Heart. And Crazy Mind, Lonely Heart, believe it or not, I started writing when I was 12 years old. My cousin Carol, who's going to hate me for doing this, Carol Shaw, was dating blues legend John Mayall. And John Mayall drove her bonkers. He'd be in town for a day or two, then go on tour and call her every once in a while. And she wrote down that, you know, because of him, she's got a crazy mind and a lonely heart. And I go, damn, that's a good line. So she wrote lyrics, and I put music to them, and that became the first version of Crazy Mind, Lonely Heart. And my whole life since then, I have rewritten this song so many times, and it's finally about someone's relationship with their dad, actually. And I even opened this song on the live version with one line from Maria McKee's Life is Sweet. This one is for the boy whose daddy never had time for him. And it's funny, I failed to mention where we're filming, and if you can't see the cross and the flag, but we are at what used to be called Hilltop Southern Baptist Church, and my dear friend and partner in ministry, Weston Burnside, was the pastor here, and this is where I recorded, gosh, I recorded Not Unclean, Itch, Does God Sleep, Real Man, I can't remember the name of my record, Zombies, When Love Dies, and all of the background tracks for Leading Horses were made in this very building in my pastor's office, where he had his recording studio. And we're driving through today because I'm doing a show in Barstow, California, and I said, let's pull over and let's film some of this in front of the church and pay homage to a part of my life that is sadly not here anymore. Weston, of course, is no longer with us, and now this place sucks. So, but it's funny because I'm talking about using a Maria McKee line, and tomorrow night for my birthday dinner in Hollywood, California, I'm having dinner with Maria and her husband. So life is sweet, actually. So yeah, Crazy Mind, Lonely Heart, and then it goes right into Daddy's Gone, which was written for written for this song cycle. I'd finished everything and I kept playing the song cycle over and over again, and I said, this needs something really mean and hateful and harsh and offensive, and what a better thing to write about than singing a song of emancipation, that you're happy and life is going to be great now that your dad died because he can't sexually abuse you anymore. That made perfect sense to me. I'm sure God told me to. So Daddy's Gone ended up, and then the fourth song was I should say, since we're really talking about a record that exists, is Scream and Scream Again, which was named after the Vincent Price movie, but it was written for a gentleman that I had a mad crush for when I was 15 years old. I guess it started when I was 13 or 14, but he was Tomato de Plenty, the lead singer of the Screamers. I'm going to get it. People are going to call me about that. And I love Tomato, and he's the one that I stole my performance style from the most. And we had one date. We had one date when I was old enough to drive. He's old enough to be my father, but yeah. So I was so excited about our one date that I wrote Scream and Scream Again for him. And that later appeared on, what record was that? Oh yeah, that was on Monsters. And Daddy's Gone showed up on Burn in Hell, and There's a Man showed up on Love Me Forever. See, I never thought this record was going to come out, so I kept drawing from it to put it on other records. And after Scream and Scream Again, yet another song written about someone I knew, Psychotic. Psychotic was written for a young lady who babysat my kids named Courtney. And Courtney Davis found God, and everyone in her family thought she was bonkers and institutionalized her. And I said, yeah, that would make a great song. So that's where Psychotic came from. And then I did Love Me Forever. And Love Me Forever I wrote when I was at my most ill time, when I had cancer in my early 20s. And it was about the experience of being ill and being just totally cast aside by your friends and family and society because you walk too slow, you move too slow, and, well, you remind people that they're mortal, and nobody really likes mortality after all. And I think Love Me Forever is probably one of the strongest songs I've ever written. It's always the one I play if I only have one song to play to show people how incredibly talented I am, because playing it on piano is really big and chordal, and it breaks into this big blues thing. And I forgot about Scream and Scream Again, that it opens up with the proverb about well, being a drunk slut, and about who has woe, who has sorrow, who has redness of eyes, who has wounds without cause, those that linger long at wine, those that go in search of mixed wine, do not look on the wine while it's red as it, wow, how do I remember all this, as it swirls in the glass, because at first it stings like a viper, and I'm getting it all screwed up now, but the point is that it was ultimately, the proverb's about being drunk with lust, and as soon as you get what you think is going to satisfy you, the next thing out of your mouth is, hey, when can I have another drink? So I love the Psychotic song cycle. I want to tell you, I played a huge concert the night before at a church in Fraser Park, the Vineyard Church in Fraser Park, and it was packed and everybody loved me, and a huge portion of those people came the next night to watch Psychotic. And I will tell you, I had so many people walk out on me during this performance. It's the most I've ever had of people I knew. I mean, the pastor showed up late and walked out early. I mean, everyone was so offended because they thought there was no Christianity in what I was doing. And I was like, if I'm a Christian and I'm doing it, isn't there some Christianity in it just because of that? Isn't you know, did my ministry earn me your trust at all, that there's a point to all this? Well, apparently not. But since I had opened Crazy Mind Lonely Heart with This One Is For the Boy Whose Daddy Never Had Time For Him, I opened the next song with This Is For the Man Who Sent Me, and I sang Desire, which I recorded off my first record, Not Unclean, recorded in this very building. And you might recall, if you're a diehard fan of me like I am, having watched one of the other ones of these bio videos where I talk about the songs, when we finished recording Not Unclean, there was a huge storm here in Kingman, and this building got struck by lightning, and the lightning went through the building into the computer, and it wiped out my entire record. And we had to piece together the whole record from the hard drive, and it took forever. But on Human Love, there's a spot in the beginning of the song that sounds like I'm cracking a whip, and it's at a perfect spot, but it's actually a snap that was left from the piecing it back together process. I have to say that God wanted it to be on my record, so he struck it with lightning and left a sound effect. But we recorded Desire here, and I did it in Psychotic, and Desire was written for my first wife, Robin, and I shamelessly say that was the best thing I got out of our relationship, was this song. And I bet if she were standing here right now, she'd be laughing like the people you don't see laughing behind the camera right now. And speaking of Robin, no, the next song on the record was Burn in Hell. And it's funny because Psychotic is filled with songs that I specifically wrote about people I knew. I didn't realize that until I made this list. But Burn in Hell was about a double suicide of guys I knew who lived in LA, who were diagnosed with HIV in the early times of AIDS, and they committed a double suicide. They got in a bathtub together and they slit their wrists and died together. And this song was written out of outrage, and of course it became my title track of Burn in Hell. And I love when people tell me that I prance around and tell people they're going to burn in hell. I've never said that in my life. And this song was about something completely different. And continuing the happy, hopeful suicide theme of Burn in Hell, I concluded the song cycle of Psychotic with Some Other Time, which I also wrote about an attempted suicide. And I love Some Other Time. It's what, like, I love how it turned out on the live recording, and I love the song, and I'm glad I did it. And I did it again on Monsters. Did I do it on Monsters? I know I did on something. I don't know. I just record them. I don't remember them. And when I got to the end of the song, I said, you know, I really don't bring this back to Jesus at all. And people are going to hate it. Well, they hated it. And but I was at the end of the song, and I said, what can I do here? And at the very end of the song, I sing the opening line of the very first song I recorded for this ministry, which was Lord. And I just sing the opening line, Lord, when they laughed at you, I was laughing too. And the character in Psychotic is at their lowest point. They just tried to commit suicide, and there's no hope in their life whatsoever. And the last thing that character says in Psychotic is, Lord, when they laughed at you, I was laughing too. And here's what was going through my head. See, I actually figured my friends and fans like paid attention to my career just a little bit, but that night I found out a lot of people can be very short-sighted. Now, people stayed, and you know, God bless. And believe it or not, one of the people that was there, that was my hookup for the event, is actually meeting us at our show in Barstow. So there have been amazing people like Lois that have stuck it through, no matter what people thought of me. But I digress. I just recently saw Final Destination 5, and I'm not going to explain the Final Destination movies more than saying, you pretty much know that every Final Destination movie is about people that have a premonition about something bad happening to the plane, the bridge, the roller coaster that they're about to get on. They don't get on, and then something bad happens, and because they cheat death, death comes after them. In Final Destination 5, which really sucked, they beat death again in some weird way, and at the very end of the movie, the people you think are finally getting away get on board an airplane, and you realize it's the airplane from the very first Final Destination, and we know what happens to that plane. So you find out that Final Destination 5 is actually a prequel for the first Final Destination. Well, that's exactly what I did with Psychotic. I compiled a lot of songs from the perspective of someone who doesn't know Jesus, and at the very end of it, the last line of Psychotic is, "Lord, when they laughed at you, I was laughing too." That was the first line I wrote after I was born again in 1982. That Psychotic turns out, in a very O. Henry twist at the end, I guess now we don't say that anymore, I'll say in a very Final Destination twist at the end, to be a prequel to me coming to the Lord. And I thought that was so clever. I thought it was so brilliant. I thought everyone in the room would get, you know, that, wow, that guy's about to turn to Jesus. He's hit rock bottom. And for my encore, I did the whole song, Lord. But by then, I lost most of the Christians in the room. And you know what I think about that. And if you don't, please listen to my record, Zombies. Honestly. That's Psychotic. I loved the song Cycle. I love 80% of the record. I wish I hadn't tampered with it, but I did, and I have to own that. It went through a lot. It took years for me to get the tracks. The tracks didn't work. It took years fixing them, editing them. Weston edited them here. He tried to fix them here, and then Don Maloney, who I work with now, he fixed the rest, and then I added drum tracks to some of the songs, which kind of sounds okay sometimes, it kind of sounds like a mistake at others. It was a learning process, but the concert itself I thought was amazing, and one of the best things I'd ever done, and that's why I'm currently working on its sequel. See, we had the prequel. Well, I'm going to have a sequel, but it has nothing to do with me, and pretty much not a whole lot to do with Jesus, because, well, I don't know. I just think I have a lot to say. And I know Christians get all miffed, but I bet when you guys go to work for 12, 16 hours a day in your non-ministerial jobs, you don't have much to do with Jesus either. So, I preach in all my shows, and I find a way to bring Jesus into my work. But I am currently working on a semi-sequel to Psychotic, which has nothing to do with Psychotic, but it's called Typhoid Mary, and I'm very proud of it, and it's very piano-based, and it sounds very cool, and I hope it becomes a better record than Psychotic. And with that, I'm going to say, that's all I have to say.